What if the coping mechanisms that you have created as strength in your workplace, such as avoiding difficult conversations or overworking, what if they are directly linked to the experiences you experienced as a child? Hello and welcome back to Mindfulness Beyond the Mind podcast. I am your host, Ginele Make, and thank you for tuning in once again this week and for consistently showing up every week to give us support and love. The past 2 episodes, we have been exploring self-awareness, looking back to understand how our past shaped who we are today, and also reflecting on how we can look back to gain understanding of how to reframe those past experiences to make sure that these align with who we are becoming today. Today's episode is no different. We are diving into self-awareness in the workplace. We are looking back and exploring how our upbringing shapes who we become professionally, as well as asking the questions: how does my childhood experiences influence how I show up at work today? We are going to dive into today's topic. Buckle up and get ready as we dive right into it. We will also look into how companies use performance management systems to evaluate, to grow, and develop their employees, as well as unpacking and challenging you to look back to the connection between who you are, where you've been, and who you are becoming professionally. We will also look into the questions that many of us might have not asked so that we can gain an understanding. Think about this for a second. What is that one thing that at your family you always celebrated? In my home, it was always knowing that at the end of each term, I have to come back with a report card that said I have passed, and not just passed, but did exceptionally well. Therefore, my foundations in life was built on hard work, dedication, and making sure that I remain focused on the end goal. For many people, it might have been that hard work and achievement were emphasized at home. Therefore, at work, you are prioritizing perfectionism as well as maybe even to a point of burnout. For other people, showing or expressing emotions might have been discouraged, and it was also deemed as maybe being weak. And therefore, when you approach your life at work today, you avoid difficult conversations as well as you struggle with conflict management. Without further ado, let's dive right into today's topic. In our professional lives, when you think about it, they are not developed in isolation. They are influenced and shaped by the values, the lessons, as well as the unspoken rules that we absorbed as kids. Now, when you think about that, you need to also understand that there is therefore maybe different layers that maybe we are not focusing on so that we can understand what influences the way we show up today at work. We're going to look at how companies use performance management and how we can apply ourselves in those performance management systems with a self-aware mindset so that we can build congruency in how we interlinked with the company, with the systems that companies have built for us at work. Professionally, when you think about self-awareness, I need you to think about how does the way I show up at work affect other people's around me, or even affect me from showing up as my authentic true self. Let's look at the performance management platforms for an example. Each and every performance management in many companies, it is almost built similar. It always starts with setting the expectations. Companies will define goals as well as the competencies that are directly linked with each role. For me as an employee, I need to understand how I'm going to show up in those goals and how I'm going to achieve them using the resources that are available to me in the company. What you need to be reflecting on when you set your goals is, does the goals that I am setting align with the values that I have and the strengths that I have? And if not, where do I need to look into so that I can get insights and change the narrative? If you're just doing this as a tick box exercise, then you are definitely committing your career suicide, as well as derailing yourself from growing into your authentic self. Number 2, continuous feedback. We use continuous feedback in performance management as a way to gain insights into where we might have fallen short. When you get feedback from your peers, from your line manager, or whoever, what you need to be thinking about instead of being defensive, you need to ask yourself this question. The last time I received feedback, how did I respond to it? Did I look at it as a growth opportunity to improve, or did it just trigger me and I became defensive and I did not want to hear anything they said and did not even stop to think? When these people, all of them, have the same feedback about me, how do I then approach them and ask them for better insights into what is it that I need to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing? Number 3, development plans. Development plans are meant to help us grow and become closer to the goals that we have in our company or even in our personal spaces. So, when you think about development plans, what you should be focusing on is when there is a development plan in place at work, am I continuously engaging with it so that I can probe further into how far off I am and what support do I still need? Or are you just leaving it in the hands of somebody else to decide on your career path? Number 4, what you need to be looking at is rewards and recognition. With rewards and recognition, companies use this to reward employees who have achieved their goals. What you also need to be looking into is what really truly motivates you. Are you consistently working towards something that aligns with your goals, your personal values, and your strength? Or are you just going about the emotions and just achieving the bare minimum and not even caring about the rewards and the recognition that comes with the hard work that you're putting in? So let's shift our conversation again a little bit to the fun stuff. Once you have looked at the performance management, we have created the creative tools that we spoke about earlier on to help you spark your creativity and also include elements of self-reflection on that journey. I'm going to be sharing with you these tools and I hope you employ them in your life. I hope they add value as well, and I would love to hear from you on how you are applying this in your daily life. Number 1, use creativity and art. What do I mean about that? Try painting or drawing or even using collage to create an ideal version of your ideal self versus your current self. By doing this, you are actually visualizing how your future person or how your future you looks like when you think about it today where you are. Number 2, using music and playlist. Music is deeply rooted to who we are. So try creating playlists with songs that are directly linked and evoke specific emotions in you. When you listen to that song, where does it take you and what is the story behind that? Number 3, photos and childhood memories. Looking at old photos or old photo albums as well as keepsakes helps you identify certain emotions that normally comes up at work that you don't know where they come from or you can't identify with. When you look at those photos, I want you to deep dive and deeply connect with them and identify what emotions am I feeling when I'm looking at this picture. And as a child, what was I going through? Because maybe I'm not smiling in the picture, maybe I'm crying. What was it that I as a child was going through, and how does this emotion maybe directly link with some of the emotions that I'm currently experiencing at work or even in my personal space and professional space? Number 4, try journaling. Try to journal in a different way. When you approach journaling in this instance, try to look at your first experience with success, with failure, of in feelings or even feelings of being heard or not being heard as a child. How does that make you feel? And today, how do you approach the challenges that you might face in life using that narrative of your first experiences with failure, with success, or feelings of being unheard or feelings of being heard? Use that to connect the dots. The last one is putting together pictures of your past and your current together in correlation to look at where you've come from and where you have been and where you are going. This will help you. You can do this in a form of a vision board using pictures that directly identify with your future self that you are envisioning, this can help you to work towards the best version of yourself, or to even work towards your goals. Sometimes you can ask yourself questions such as, where would I be in my life if fear was not holding me back? And you can also use scriptures such as, God did not give me the spirit of fear, but of sound mind and of understanding. Use this to approach your life whenever you feel feelings of fear towards your career. Using all of this is very helpful and will be an added benefit to you. Now, I do not only give you reflection tools, I will also give you coping mechanisms, because I know that with reflections, we are unpacking emotions that are heavy and deep for some people. The coping mechanisms that I have put together are meant to help you, and also some of the resources you might already have access to through your employee assistance program at work. The first one is mindfulness practice. When you think about mindfulness practice, try to think about the many apps that are available that you can use to practice mindfulness, whether it is deep breathing exercises, whether it is mindfulness to keep yourself grounded. Some companies even pay for paid subscription for their employees to applications such as Headspace or Calm. Just look at your employee assistance program and check if maybe that benefit is not already there. If not, applications such as Teams, Microsoft, Viva Insights, they do have this element where you are able to read articles that speaks to mindfulness, or even do videos that are like a minute or less for you to prep yourself as you go into a meeting, calm yourself as you do a presentation, or if you're a new joiner and you're feeling a little bit unsettled in your role and finding your feet, you can use that resource. Number two, the other tool or coping mechanisms that we have created that might also be available in your employee assistance program is making use of a counselor or a psychologist to help you unpack the deep patterns that you are coming across in your journey. They might also share with you strategies that will help you remove the limiting belief that you have about yourself. This practice might be available not only to you on your company's employee assistance program, but it might also be extended to your family. Perhaps it's not you who's looking for this assistance, but it might be your child, your wife, or your mother. You never know. You can check these resources and see if maybe they are applicable to your extended family. Number three, it is positive affirmations. I live on positive affirmations. I downloaded an app that helps me with setting the intention for the day. In the morning, you'll get a positive affirmation that will help you to speak to yourself with positivity and limiting the negative self-talk. So positive affirmations, you can buy the affirmation cards if you are into physical things. But if you are digitally inclined and you're happy with using the apps, you can check on your app store for affirmation apps that you can download, and you will get the reminders throughout the day. Speak it out loud to yourself until you change the narrative you have about yourself. Number four is the support of community. In our performance management platforms, many of us might have what we call a peer-to-peer feedback. That feedback, you can use it to get it any time of the year. You don't have to wait for a specific month or specific time of the year to get that feedback. You use that feedback to perhaps look in and prop further into where you might be falling short, and the people that you work with, not the people that you have lunch with at work, but the people that you work with where their work directly influences your work, or vice versa. Ask feedback from them and take that feedback and unpack it. If maybe they have said you have a strength that you are not aware of, ask them further questions to say, how do you see me best using this skill to support you in your role and also applying it into my role and my personal life? By having that dialogue conversation with your peers, you are creating a community that is supportive, and you're taking the feedback and using it as building blocks and not as blocks to bury yourself with. Then I hope you use these benefits and these tools and coping mechanisms as you approach your self-awareness journey in your career. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember that self-awareness is the bridge between where you were and where you want to be. By unpacking this and directly identifying how your upbringing influences your professional identity, you are on a much better journey to become your authentic self. There are 3 questions that are also created that you can reflect on after this episode and throughout this week. One of them is, how does the experiences of my childhood influence how I show up at work? Once you have identified those experiences, you can ask yourself a follow-up questions. How does the habits that are directly linked to that pattern or experience influence me, and how can I change it into a positive as opposed to a negative? And lastly, in your professional journey, the values that you have and the goals, are they linking to your personal life so that there is fluency in how you are showing up at work and how you are showing up in your personal life? Thank you so much for tuning in. I would love to hear from you. If anything resonated with you on what we talked about today, I'd love to hear from you. Share your reflection stories. Share the other tools that you are using in your life that we might not have touched based on. We learn from each other. So I'd love to hear from you in the comment section what resonated with you, how you are applying this to your life, and what other tools you are using. Here is a penny drop moment before I sign out. What if the coping mechanisms that you have created as strength in your workplace, such as avoiding difficult conversations or overworking, what if they are directly linked to the experiences you experienced as a child, and you are using that as a strength to block connecting with yourself deeper? Prop on that deeper. Look into it a little bit much more so that you can get an insight and also an understanding of how the experiences that you have are influencing where you are going. Thank you. Until next time, remember to be mindful, to be curious, and to continue exploring the deep layers that makes up who you are. Also, the biggest powerful transformation begins when you start being self-aware. Goodbye.